my name's Lauren, and I'm going to be doing my research project on antibiotic resistance and bacteriophage therapy. So antibiotic resistance is a big problem in the world today that a lot of people are unaware of. There are about 20 million cases of bacterial infections in the US every year, and of these 20 million cases, about 23,000 people die. And unfortunately, this number is going to continue to increase as bacterial resistance increase. So we need to do research to find an alternative method for treating bacterial infections. I first became really interested in this research topic because I'm a part of a research group on campus at UMD where we're working with the E. coli bacteria and Bacteriophage to study the host pathogens interactions, and hopefully our research will be able to contribute to finding alternative methods instead of using antibiotics to treat bacterial infections. So what are antibiotics? Antibiotics are a type of medicine that's used to slow or stop the growth of bacteria, and it's commonly used to treat bacteria infections. I'm sure many of you have been prescribed an antibiotic before in your life, and because it's extremely common. Ever since they were first discovered in 1928 by Alexander Fleming, we've been using antibiotics much too frequently, even sometimes whenever it's not completely necessary, which is what's leading to all the antibiotic resistance and causing the problems that we're facing today. So now people are actually saying that we're re-entering the pre-antibiotic era, meaning that antibiotics are becoming so ineffective because of resistance that it's almost like before antibiotics were discovered. So what is antibiotic resistance? Antibiotic resistance occurs whenever bacteria develop a method for defeating the drug that was designed to kill them. This means that bacteria are exposed to antibiotics so frequently that they can actually evolve and adapt to survive through the antibiotics that are designed to kill them and therefore cause further harm to the patient. So what we need to do now is do further research to find an alternative method for treating these infections that don't rely on antibiotics. So bacteriophage therapy is one of the main methods that's being looked at today for treating bacterial infections, and this is the method I'm going to be focusing on in my research. Bacteriophage are bacterial viruses that invade bacterial cells and cause them to lyse, meaning it's killing these bacterial cells and stopping the bacterial infection. A lot of researchers have been working really closely with bacteriophage therapy and seeing if this is a possible option for replacing antibiotics in the medical field. There was actually one study done that took two groups of patients. One group was given phage therapy for treating bacterial infections, and the other group was given antibiotics. The results showed that 82% of phage therapy patients had a full recovery, whereas only 64% of those patients who were given antibiotics fully recovered. So this is really promising, and it just shows how antibiotics are becoming less effective because of resistance, and it shows that bacteriophage therapy could be the answer to our problem. Actually, the FDA just approved the first clinical trial for bacteriophage therapy, which is really exciting because we could get a lot more research done, actually clinically testing it on patients in a controlled setting, and hopefully this will lead to further research and more interest in this field, and we can be able to help save lives and treat more patients this way. So I also found a video that shows one example of a man in California who was actually treated using phage therapy because antibiotics were no longer working for him due to resistance. And this video just shows how this really helped save his life and what phage therapy can do for the future of medicine.
They were having a great time. They'd seen the pyramids, and they were on a boat headed up to Luxor. And as the boat was pulling into Luxor, Stephanie texted me and said that Tom had developed abdominal pain and was unable to eat, and she was worried that he developed food poisoning. She then texted me back and said, the pain is going through to his back. Could this be pancreatitis? What should I do? I said, you need to get him to a hospital. The last thing you need is pancreatitis in the middle of Egypt. that's an organism we have a lot of respect for now. So after a little over a week in Germany, Stephanie was able to work with people here to get him flown to UCSD. And he was hospitalized here at UC San Diego just before Christmas.
I wasn't ready to let you go. And I came to you and I held your hand and I said, honey, they're doing everything that they can do. There's nothing that can kill this bug. So if you want to fight, you need to fight. But do you want me to kind of pursue some alternative therapies? And we'll leave no stone unturned. Around that time, a colleague of ours who's at UCSF said that a friend of hers had been treated with phage therapy and flew to Tbilisi, Georgia, where she had this miraculous cure. And I thought, wow, that sounds kind of far out. But wait, I remember learning about phages when I was an undergrad at the University of Toronto. So I thought, wow, and I looked it up and I saw that it wasn't licensed and it certainly wasn't FDA approved, yet there were some papers saying that this was a promising area for the future. So I wrote Chip Schooley an email and I said, what do you think about phage therapy? And he said, what an interesting and intriguing idea. If you can help identify some phages that are going to be reactive against his isolate, I'm going to give it a whirl. We set on a phage hunt. Took just a couple weeks, but an international effort of researchers and people at the Navy Medical Research Unit came together to make this happen. We couldn't have done it without the UCSD team.
What they literally mean are bacteriophage. They eat bacteria. And these are small viruses that are ubiquitous. We're loaded with bacteriophage, and on any given day, there's a dance going on in our GI tracts of bacteriophage attacking bacteria. In the early part of the 20th century, there were a lot of efforts in France and what became the former Soviet Union to use these organisms as therapeutic agents in people with difficult to treat infections. Toward the late 30s and early 40s, there was less interest in this in the West because antibiotics began to emerge, and people in the West thought antibiotics would be able to take care of our problems with bacterial infection. There had not been a lot of experience with treating people with bacteriophage, and almost none giving it intravenously in the U.S. So we relied on some of the literature from Soviet Union. A lot of it was really being worked out kind of on a first patient basis as we went, using a combination of the previous literature, our own intuition about how these phage would circulate, and advice from people who'd been thinking about it for a long time. Within about 48 hours, he woke up and turned to his daughter and said, I love you.
Had there been phages available in the course of my illness when I first got ill, I wouldn't have been nearly as sick.
So I hope that video helped show how important this research is and how it can really impact people's lives and make a difference in the future of medicine. Thank you guys for watching.